Welcome back to Study Wealth. Mitchell here, documenting our journey to success. In the entrepreneurship part of this channel, I want to speak with the people who have turned an idea into a business. In a world where entrepreneurship is sometimes glorified, what is it really like and what does it really take to run and manage your own business? Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dean Ahmad. Dean founded his sports management agency business, Fine Edge Cricket, at 15 years of age, which now manages the likes of Ravi Bopara and Herschel Gibbs. That is not all. Dean has been fired after featuring on The Apprentice in 2019, all the way to week 10. Dean, thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you on the channel. I can't wait for all the value you're going to provide my audience. Before I get into my more specific questions, I want to start from the beginning. I want to get to know the sort of person behind the business. Give us a little background into sort of your upbringing and how entrepreneurship sort of first started for you.
Yeah, so always been that kid at school selling. I remember my first sort of taste of entrepreneurism was going to Dagenham Market, buying a bunch of hats, snapbacks at the time, buying for 20 at school, little things like that. Then started selling sweets at school, the standard business-esque individuals or school people, as you call it. And then at a young age, sort of identified that my passion was always going to be sport, and also the whole sort of element of business around that, relating to people skills, etc., etc. And then at 15, sort of set up my business, obviously pretty naive and almost unprofessionally at the time, but, you know, you live and you learn. And obviously now it's what I do full time now. So, you know, I just consistently sort of set values and then just learn every day and gone on, you know, sort of gone on that journey.
I know you're a firm believer in sort of talk being easy, but sort of execution being the main indicator of like progress when it comes to sort of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. So what I wanted to ask was like, what drives your sort of ambition for success? What sort of gets you up every day? And also like, how would you define it? What does success look like for you? Sort of the end goal of success.
Couple interesting questions there. In terms of my why, my purpose and stuff like that, what gets me up. I remember actually, and I haven't thought about this for a while, but I remember when I was about, you know, even as young as 12, 13 and seeing my dad go to work every morning. And I just thought, I don't want to have that almost mental ag of Monday morning, oh, I've got work to do, that 9 to 5. So I identified from a very early age that whatever I do end up doing, in the ideal world, if I get lucky enough, I want to be able to enjoy it. And obviously, it's not necessarily sports or cricket or whatever it is I enjoy. It's the process of building a business. And the whole skills around that, the adrenaline rush, and obviously we'll go into that. And the second question you said was, what was it?
Sort of like, how would you define it? What is it? So that gets you up in the morning, but what do you actually see? You know, what's the end goal?
Success for me is a lot of people, especially around my age, think, oh, you know, the money, wealthy, the cars, etc. The cliche stuff you always hear all the time. But for me, it's not that. And we need to sort of, as a generation, gradually change that definition. And for me, it's almost being happy. I know that sounds cliche, but fulfilled, I think it's a better word. You live life on your terms. And look, if that means, you know, you are earning, rather than 500k a year, you're earning 60k a year or 100, whatever it is, whatever numbers, examples you want to give. But if you're happy with your work-life balance and you know, you're doing what you enjoy every single day, every single minute, then for me, you've made it and you're successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I sort of, this channel, and the reason why I use the word wealth is because I think everyone sort of thinks of wealth as being possessions like money, cars, whereas I think of like true wealth is like the abundance of like experiences as well as possessions. Like obviously you want to be able to buy stuff that you want. That means you're wealthy, but also like having experiences, relationships, a family, like things like that is also more, like you say, fulfilling in a way.
100%. Couldn't agree more. And I think our generation more than any is that we're probably suffering from that, and you know, with the whole Instagram and stuff like that, again we'll go into it, I'm sure, but you know, it's dangerous times. People, especially think about our kids and our kids generation, it's going to be crazy to see where the world ends up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, so we're starting to get like a better understanding of like the person behind the business and what motivates you as a person, but I kind of want to, before I go into talking about The Apprentice, which we'll get to, I just want to sort of talk about the business itself. So like Fine Edge Cricket is the business you have now. How does it, you know, everyone wants to know how you start something like that. What was it? So did you need to raise capital? Did it start as a side hustle? You know, what was the sort of structure, and how the hell do you start something like this from such a young age?
Yeah, for sure. And look, everyone always sort of asks that question. I've got a passion. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. How do you start? 100%. Look, for me, I can only speak about what I know and what my experiences were. As I said earlier, I identified at a young age, I was 15, 16. I always loved sport, always loved the business side of sport. And so going through that idea of representing players, running an athlete in whatever industry, whatever sport, their business credentials, growing their platform, etc., was something always interesting to me. So in terms of actually how I started, I remember literally messaging someone on LinkedIn. And again, LinkedIn, I think, is a massively undervalued platform. People don't realize just how much value that can give you. You can literally find pretty much anyone in the world, give or take, especially in a work environment where you want to meet people, go for whatever. It's crazy. Anyway, so I messaged someone on LinkedIn. It was a coach at the time, a very naive message, a 15-year-old, just saying, this is my name, this is what I want to do for you, can I get your number, blah, blah, blah. I got a couple of replies and literally just fed them into what at the time was the PSL, a league happening in Dubai. And literally, luckily, I'd say they got picked up. One of them got picked up. I told him to then speak to the owner to get my other client picked up. So literally probably through sheer luck. But obviously I went out there in my half term, then sort of met the players and, then it all started to sort of kick off. And look, I mean, even until 16, 17, it was probably pretty unprofessional in the way I did things and stuff. But, I think that's the advantage of starting so young. I've been in it now for 5-6 years and I think I'm, nearing the top of the industry, and that's exactly the aim. Whereas other people in the industry, when they start so late, you make your mistakes later in life, then it's completely different.
I think picking up some of the things you said there, I think you're so right about LinkedIn. I think generations before us, assuming it's just a sort of online CV, but it's becoming more of like a content platform, more of a place where you can sort of present yourself and what you're about. I think it's so interesting that this all started for you. The Finest Cricket started for you on LinkedIn, and also probably before its time, before probably LinkedIn was actually a proper platform. But now I think it's important to really push our generation to be using that more sort of like sensibly, rather than just think of it as, I need to sort my CV out online.
Exactly. And people think, so and so's got contacts, their parents got whatever. LinkedIn is the perfect proof that you don't need that. Obviously, yes, let's not be naive. It does help in certain environments, but you don't need it. As I said, I didn't have it. Loads of other people who succeed in life don't have it. And if you're talking about practicality, people who actually want to get started, if you want to set up a sportswear brand, if you want to set up a whatever brand, you can literally find people within an industry or people with those skills, message them and just get talking to them. And, when the time's right, you find the right person. I truly believe that.
And I think when you are young, you can play the sort of naivety card more. You get away with more. Like you can just...
People love like a good story.
Yeah.
Although it's in certain contexts, people love to help. But, if I was, for example, a young graphic designer, let's say, I would be on LinkedIn, messaging loads of top graphic designers, just saying, look, and as you said, using your age as your advantage, you can work for free, do all these things, just go learn and do things for free and try and meet and be around people who are the best in that industry, for sure.
And something that you did, I think, just picking up on it, is provide value. Like you managed to get them in, like value is something we should be just like massively pushing for our generation. Even if you're doing it for free, at least you're providing something. You can't ask for something unless you're giving something, I think, anyway. But
100%. And you've got to, the aim at least, especially when you start out, the aim has got to be, you've got to eventually be or try to be or want to be the best in your industry. So I truly believe, and if you are the best in your industry, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be in a business environment, but you just generally have to have that aim. And if you are the best in your industry, then the results will come.
Yeah. And so in terms of the actual business itself, I can see, I did my research online, and you're offering a sort of 360 service. So you do sponsorship, contract negotiations. You offer a lot of different, services to a sportsman. So what is it you think that you would say differentiates your business from the industry? In the sports agent industry, you've got so many people. It's a very saturated industry. And typically age is you get older agents, ex-lawyers, going into the industry, or ex-players who then go into that industry. So for me, standing out as, young, but not also just youngest by some way, I think, some players sort of just helped, that relationship, it's sometimes overly corporate, whereas with me, players can feel like they can have a chat, a genuine, friend almost relationship, which is so important. One of the players I was with in Dubai a couple of months ago, he was just saying, do you not think players generally have an overly corporate relationship with their agent? Whereas if you've got me, someone a bit younger, someone they can identify and relate with, it's a completely different ballgame.
And secondly, the other thing I'd say, again, going back to the age thing, I'd say, given I started so young, money was never a focus or priority for me. I'd say me being able to provide value, give, rather than the first thing thinking about, oh, I've got bills to pay, I've got family to look after. Obviously, none of that was the case. So I used that to my advantage. And obviously, when I got to the point, then, you know, I sort of re-strategize things and sort of the value then for itself.
It leads on to my next question really, really well about entrepreneurship and like, does it require, what is the percentage split, between EQ and IQ? If you had to put, say, so emotional intelligence, we're talking about sort of self-awareness, empathy, you know, IQ, we're talking about, you know, your reasoning ability, you know, solving puzzles, for example. If you could put you had 100, say, for example, and you could percentage split of what is most important for entrepreneurship, what would you say is the biggest factor, EQ or IQ?
It's a great question. I think the way the world is going now, EQ is becoming so important. Yeah. Like, I find it ridiculous that, you know, people my age, younger, you know, in school and university are stressing and, you know, massive amounts of stress, just over stressing over something you can literally Siri in 3-4 seconds. You know, people doing history degree can't even, you know, they're forced to learn all these set dates. And I find that just ridiculous the way the world is now. Everything is sort of at our fingertips almost. So yeah, in terms of a number, look, it's hard to put a number on it, but I think, you know, EQ is becoming so more important. And again, even outside the entrepreneurship world, I think EQ is going to be super important. It is already. And your ability to realize, one, self-awareness, but also different people's skills, and then sort of maneuvering the conversation in certain ways in relation to different people's characteristics. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you said that. I completely agree with you. I think there's a really good picture online that I like, and it's a goldfish, it's a monkey, there's like different animals, and it's like the education system is currently teaching that goldfish how to climb a tree. Don't know if you've seen it. I'll put it on the video here, but
and that's the thing. There's too many people out there, at least even, for example, my parents, but generally parents as well, all cultures and whatnot, who are just very much indoctrinated with that university is the one way. And yeah, maybe that's now slowly changing, but from what I saw, they say university is the one way, it's this or that, and if you don't go to that, you're not successful. And obviously that needs to then change. And as I said, it really is.
Yeah, it's good. I think just to provide a little bit extra there for my sort of audience watching this, I think, you know, when we're talking about EQ, guys, we're talking about sort of self-awareness, self-regulation, sort of motivation. They're things that I think Dean would agree. Dean, do you agree that they're probably more things that come more natural to you?
Yeah, for sure. And it's an interesting one. Can you teach EQ? I don't know. I just think some people are naturally blessed with it. Can you get better at EQ? Yes. How? I don't know. I literally don't know. But at the same time, I think it's so important, and especially the way the world is now, as I said, in all industries, even if you're working a 9-to-5 job, having great EQ can put you at such a big advantage. And I'm a true believer in that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, something that I wanted to become better at was sort of self-awareness. So I remember looking up, like, how do you become more sort of self-aware of yourself rather than like chasing something? A lot of people say like active listening skills, making sure you're listening to people more, daily rituals to maintain like a positive attitude. There's sort of a couple of things that you can sort of do. And a massive one is like, and it's so cliche, you sort of touched on it earlier on, is like find your happiness. You know, if you find something you're good at, you're more likely going to put in the hours to do well in it. So there are a few things that you can do.
You touched on self-awareness, and the other thing is the way the world is now, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, whereas obviously when you said you're an entrepreneur, that generally meant, oh, you were unemployed or you didn't have a job, or you know, you didn't really have much going on. So it's crazy how much the world has changed in so little time. But yeah, the point is, everyone also needs to realize what they're good at, what makes them happy, as you said, rather than going into something because you think there's money in it, or because you think, you know, there's a craze or a big trend. It's not going to work. It's never going to be sustainable. You've got to find out what you're good at, what makes you happy, you know, and then go down, sort of double down on that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think lastly, on the business side of things, doing my sort of research, I'm under the impression that you could be starting something new. Is there anything sort of, any exclusive, anything that you can tell us on that sort of front?
Yeah, for sure. I'm waiting for the right time to announce it and sort of launch the business. Obviously, crazy times we're in right now. But yeah, I'll be running something pretty substantial, hopefully pretty game changing. It's called the Brunch Club London. Cool. We'll be running exclusive and luxury brunches across central London. So yeah, I won't say too much, but no, that's obviously something which is keeping me busy during this time. and obviously an exciting venture, and something I've sort of never done, no experience in. People, sometimes when people have asked me questions or advice or whatever, they say, "Oh, I don't have any experience." I mean, I don't have any experience in that. I don't have any connections or anything like that. I sort of just thought, there's a gap in the market. It's something I think I'd enjoy. I think I'd be good at it, and I just launched it. And then obviously, you learn as you go along. So there's no reason to think, "Oh, I can't start it because of A, B, or C."
I think actually you're so right there. You learn from your mistakes. Even with this YouTube channel, just started out. I'm going to probably look back at my videos in a year's time and just go, wow, there was some real amateur things going on in there. But at the same time, you're going to learn quicker as well if you're doing it whilst thrown in the deep end. And it sounds like that's something you're doing with Brunch Club London. So massively good luck with that.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks.
Inevitably, of course, I'm going to move on to The Apprentice. We can't ignore it. You did really well on the show. You got to week 10, I believe. Really intense environment. There's a lot of things I wanted to ask about it, but I was just thinking, what's the most value that my audience can get from it? I think my first thing is, why did you want to go on to The Apprentice?
Yeah, so for me, it was very, I've always watched the show, been a big fan of the show from a sort of young age. And I think for me, where I am and what I want to do in life, as I said, I always knew I wanted to be a businessman, entrepreneur. And so for me, it was almost like a platform for me to then go on. I identified that very quickly, and I thought, why not go on there? It will boost my career, open more doors, business perspective, and it's done that. I'm very humbled by that opportunity. It was great fun, and I got what I wanted from it, which was the exposure, the platform builder, ability to now go in the business world and sort of ask more questions to more people.
Yeah, so that was my sort of next question there. You touched on it. How has it helped? Because a lot of people think of it, and you may agree, you may not. It's become more of a sort of TV program than it has become a sort of business show. And I think a lot of people would agree on the fact that it probably doesn't, necessarily teach business skills, but it more provides. I mean, the way the world works now is if you become on TV, you become a bit of a personality. And so did the actual exposure help more, or did you think the actual business side of the show helps? I mean, is there much business going on in the show, Dean, or is it?
I think, it's a great question. I don't think there's too much actual business skills in there, or it doesn't need too much of a business acumen. I do think, just the severe intensity of the process and the environment, it does teach you a lot. For me, it's taught me a lot of mental strength. It's crazy being away in that isolated environment, 2 months, no phone, no family, being treated like a baby for 2 months, people sleeping outside the room, you don't come to the toilet without asking people. It's crazy. So it does teach you a lot of mental strength, because to be in that period for so long consistently, it is difficult for anyone. So definitely that. And in terms of what I've got out of it, for sure, it was the exposure. It has helped me, and obviously with what I'm launching now, it's something where a lot of the connections, relationships, and the people I've met, I can now sort of utilize that and hopefully grow that into a successful business. That's the aim.
Yeah, that's good. I think as well, I mean, for people that want to go onto the show, and obviously there are a lot of people out there that want to get onto it, and perhaps quite a few of our generation, people watching this, what would you recommend? So actually, would you recommend going on the show? One, and by the sounds of it, you probably would. And two, what's your top tip for getting on? Because I understand that you actually got on twice, really, because you had to sort of delay your first time.
In terms of, I think it's not for everyone. You get some introverts, extroverts, that's fine. You don't have to be a loud, confident character. But what you do have to be able to do is stick up for yourself, be opinionated, in your own views. And if you stick up for yourself, then you won't last very long in that process. So I'd say that. Obviously, you've got to do it for the right intentions. It's that's not the right show if you want to be famous or you want to, be whatever. But if you want to be business individual and you want to learn, sort of, in effect, you're getting advice and learn from the best, i.e. someone like Lord Trigger, and being around those sort of individuals. And from what I got out of it, which was the platform builder, then for sure, look, it's a great opportunity in terms of the tips and stuff. Yeah, that's right. I went on it and was going to go on it the year before and all that sort of stuff. I would just say, look, be yourself, be confident, be opinionated, and demonstrate what you can do. And look, that doesn't necessarily mean, as I said, in a business way, because they don't necessarily look always for that, which is, again, another whole interesting debate. But if you're opinionated and you're yourself and you're confident in that, then, if it's meant for you, you'll get it.
Good man. I mean, massively appreciate that. I've got two more questions for you, but just before I sort of close up, last couple of questions. where can I sort of direct my audience to for you if they want to follow you, they want to follow your journey? Massively recommend it, by the way, everyone. Dean is on a great journey. So where can they find you, Dean?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram at Dean Ahmad, AHMAD_.
Yeah.
That's Twitter and Instagram. So get me on there. DM me anytime. You know, I'm always available and stuff, especially in this climate we're in now. So happy to sort of help and add value wherever I can.
And I've seen his Twitter, everyone. He's got some really motivational stuff going on there right now. So it's a really good place to go if you need some uplifting tweets for your day. Dean, last couple of questions. On my sort of personal finance side to my channel, I'm massively sort of in on goal setting, making sure, encouraging people to sort of set financial goals. Is goal setting something that you do? And if so, what's your sort of future goal that you currently have?
That's really interesting. And so as a young entrepreneur, I've always, you know, we all have aims in life, whatever it be. But only recently now, to be honest, in the last, I'd say 8-9 months, I've started thinking about that more and being a bit more practical about it, actually adding value. So literally, as you say this, I've started writing things down rather than just thinking in my head and it gets lost away. Literally, I've got personal aims, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And so then around my room, you probably see as well, then how to go about them. So one of them I would say is, let's go back to my fine edge stuff, is just to become the leading agency in the cricket world. And then, you know, just about around the room is then how to go about doing that and the structure. So for sure, goal setting is super important, because if you just then continuously are working towards something, you do need a sense of conviction. At the same time, it's important not to over strategize, spend time thinking, oh, you know, we're going to do this and that. You know, there's a fine balance between actually then going out there and doing it, learning, and actually doing the work rather than just plotting about it. But yeah, I mean, we're in a crazy time now where you can't do everything, you know, you sort of wanted to be able to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I agree. I think there's a really interesting, I've got it on my video, so people who are audience here are aware of it, but it's like a 3%, 13% and 84% Harvard study. 3% who wrote their goals down achieved earnings of 10 times more than the 84% and the 13% combined. So you know, it's like there's crazy results in actually writing your goals down. And actually, you're so right. Tony Robbins does a good podcast on it. Create like a massive action plan, you know, write everything down to achieve it. But if you only do 2 of those out of the 10, 20% of it's likely to make, you know, 80% of the result. So that's like exactly kind of what you say. Final question, Dean, and I'm going to sort of, this is going to be a common question throughout sort of these sort of entrepreneur parts. You're the first person to do it, obviously. I'll give you a bit of a time to prepare on it, and hopefully you've got some names for me. So the saying goes that you're the average of your 5 closest people. Now, for the purpose of COVID-19 and the strange circumstances we're in, if you had a virtual dinner party, let's say, where after it, you would be the average of those 5 people at the dinner party. So you'd come away from the party and you become the average of the 5 people there. Who would you have there and why? Sorry, it's a difficult question, but what have you got for us?
Great question. Yeah, really, really good question. So let's start off. For me, my parents, in particular, my mum always indoctrinated that, look, you as a person, it's not just about making money, it's not about running business, it's about being a complete person. So that means, you know, being kind, giving back, you know, the whole stuff you always hear. So for me, those 5 people were meant to then reflect those values. Firstly, Muhammad Ali, obviously the boxing legend. Reason for that is that, you know, obviously elite athlete, but also I just see, looking back on it, the way he talks about things, his mindset is a sort of a clear proof of see things, say things, believe it, and then it happens.
Yeah.
2, as you mentioned earlier, an obvious one, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Listen to him loads. I mean, I'd probably go as far as saying I'm sort of brainwashed by him. Literally listen to him a lot, probably too much. Just from a practicality point of view as well, like not even just motivation, actually about how to go out there and do things.
A lot of people call him a motivational speaker, don't they? I think he's more like practical advice, you know.
I think it almost cringes me when people say motivation just because of that term now. But Gary, you know, even stuff like he did that video about how to how to market and broaden your network on Instagram DMs and actually how to do that, which is so beneficial. So that's the second person. Third, going back to what I said, my mum sort of told me and indoctrinated what was so important for me. Mother Teresa, obviously pretty good, you know, of the world, but the whole idea of humanity and thinking about others. I think giving back is, you know, if you give more in life, then, you know, God will bless you with, you know, certain things.
Yeah, good answer.
For Martin Luther King, I just think, given where he was in his society, culturally at the time, and obviously race and all that sort of stuff, what he did and the boundaries he set and sort of the boundaries he broke is pretty revolutionary. And 5, a very cliche one, but I've seen him a lot on my social media recently. Cristiano Ronaldo, just from a pure work point,
machine, isn't he?
Absolute, pure machine, pure work ethic, guts in the gym, hustle, and he obviously produces the results. And what I like about him, he also then shows it as well. Like he has a bit of a not a mouth on him, but he lets people
got an edge about him.
100%.
A real mix of people there, Dean. I quite enjoy that answer there. I'd love to see Mother Teresa and Cristiano Ronaldo at a dinner party together. Massively appreciate it. Obviously, you're the first one to feature on the channel. My audience, everyone, make sure you go follow Dean on Twitter, Instagram. Like he said, his DMs are open for you. What more could you want? Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to close up with? Anything you want to sort of tell us about? Floor's yours.
No. Obviously, everyone keep hustling. Appreciate you having me on here. Great content, as I said. Have a look at the Instagram. So you're busy doing out here. A lot of people are just sitting around in quarantine, so it's good to see you're out and doing stuff. So
appreciate it.
I'm following the content, so keep it up, mate. And look forward to seeing some more.
Good. And everyone, don't forget, it's a journey to success on Study Wealth. Thanks for listening.